The Chicago Bears traded for Dan Feeney last night. Question on the table is, what does he bring to this team, and what does he bring to this offensive line as a whole? We'll talk about all that and more in today's episode of the Windy City Breeze Sports Talk Daily. Let's go. Now, if you are new to the channel, please like the video. Please subscribe to the page. We do talk Chicago sports daily on this channel. Only channel talking Bears. Our Bears fans talk, so make sure you stay in tune with us, man. And I believe 50% of you guys aren't subscribed. Less of you have that notification bell hit. Let's get that mug hit, man, so that we can be, so you guys can get notified every time we go live. Listen, Bears trade for Dan Feeney. What does he bring to this Chicago Bears team on the offensive line? That's the question on the table today. First things first, great head of hair. This guy's bringing solid mullet game to the Chicago Bears. That's number one on the table. Let's talk about that first things first. He's dominating the mullet game in the NFL. Top 5 mullet. He's bringing that in. Solid to see that coming here to Chicago. Second thing, he's bringing that Chicago fire. Another guy, Ryan Poles loves these guys that are from Illinois. He grew up in Orland Park, right? Like he's a grown up a Bears fan. He was a fan of the team when Jordan Howard was here. Him and Jordan Howard, I believe, were teammates in college. So, you know, he's got that connection there. And so, listen, another Bears fan coming in, another Chicago local guy coming in. All right, cool. Here's where my questions start to begin. Dan Feeney was a guy who started most of his time in LA, right? Was drafted 3rd round pick. He's a guy that can play multiple positions. He can play center and he can play guard. But what's the point of being an offensive lineman? Your job is to not allow sacks. Your job is to keep your quarterback upright. And while I love the Chicago connection, I love the mullet, I love the fact that he's coming in here and can play multiple positions. He is also very familiar with Luke Getsy's system already. Similar situation that they were running over there with the Jets, of course, right? But this guy allows sacks. He's a guy who is allowed, depending on what website you've gone to, right? I had to do a little bit of digging yesterday. So it depends on what website you go to. I went to the Washington Post. I went to PFF. PFF has him allowing more sacks than the Washington Post. But either way, 2 seasons of 5+ sacks allowed, 2018, 2019. You don't just get rid of 3rd round linemen if you feel like they're good, right? You don't just get rid of guys, especially like the Miami Dolphins just got this guy this offseason. Now the Bears making a trade, offering that draft capital, right? You're trying to secure your line. At a minimum, to me, he's a body that can rotate in, rotate out. I think he's kind of in that Tyson Bagent situation. Of course, more of a starter, more of a player who can start in this league, but you don't want to see this guy a ton. You don't want to go out there and say, I want to have this guy in there every single play. But if I'm swapping in one for the other, if I'm swapping in him for Leatherwood, I think you're in a better situation now with Dan Feeney than you were with Alex Leatherwood in here. And I like that the Bears went out and addressed this, right? It doesn't have to be the perfect guy. Now, here's the thing. Coming off of the bench, he was the perfect guy. That is the other side of this that we have to denote, right? The beginning as a starter. And the only reason I bring up the time as a starter is because of the offensive line concerns that we have here already, right? We got guys who are in and out. Tevin Jenkins, he's coming because of the Tevin Jenkins injury. Cody Whitehair's got a banged up hand. Lucas Patrick hasn't had a healthy season yet. So you got to take all of that stuff into account because it might be this guy in a starting position. But I say all that to say, last 2 years with the Jets, with him coming off of the bench, being able to spot fill in, he has been really, really good. He's only allowed a half sack in either season. Only last season, I should say, in 2022. No sacks before that. And number one, biggest thing, right? Available. This young man's available. 29 years old, 6th round pick. You traded for him, and he has only missed 1 game in his entire career. Available. And I love that. I love that we're seeing that. I love that we're going out and getting a guy who's durable, who's going to be able to go out there and, to me, make plays hopefully, right, as your swing tack or as your swing sixth offensive lineman, right, that sixth guard, right, somebody that could just rotate in, rotate out. Hopefully somebody that don't have to have in there long term. It does seem like the Bears feel like everyone's going to be ready to go for this week 1 game. Seems like they were just dealing with soft tissue stuff. But Nate Davis, right, like what the heck's going on with him? Lucas Patrick, big question marks there. Cody Whitehair, right, back at left guard. That wasn't a great place for him last season, and he's got a club on his hands. So you hope that he's able to come in and give you a little bit of depth at that position just in case guys do go down. Wouldn't be mad at seeing him in a spot start. Like I said, last 2 seasons, he's been a guy who's been elite, has not allowed the sacks. The other thing with him was penalties early on, right? We might be getting him as he's coming out of whatever it was that was causing him to have so many penalties, have so many sacks, different things like that. He was a high penalty guy as well, had 4 in 2018, 7 in 2019. I know a lot of people might be like, oh, that's not that much. It is when you're stopping drives, right? These were holding penalties and false starts mostly. Yeah, those 7 that he had, when you pair that up with 5 sacks in that season, that's a problem, right? And so it seems like the last couple of years in his spot starts, he's been great. He's a guy who I like the technique from. When I watched all his snaps that he did with the Dolphins, granted, I believe that was with the 2s and 3s, he did look pretty good. He did look like he could go out there and he could be a solid left guard for us if we need him to. He did look like he can go out there. Didn't get a ton of time at center. When you saw him snapping a football, though, he did look like he had that ability. Here's the one thing. The Bears have their type, right? And this guy fits their type. Dan Feeney fits their type. First off, mullet fits their type, right? But second off, a guy that could play multiple positions, a guy that you could swap in and out. This is what Chris Morgan wants. This is what the Bears offensive linemen are looking to be. I guarantee you by 5-6 years, you're going to see more guys that are going to be like that. Now, granted, your tackles are kind of locked in, right? Braxton Jones on the left side, Darnell Wright on the right side. Those two, to me, are the guys who are going to be locked in no matter what. But the guard and center guys, you see what they want here. Lucas Patrick can play all 3. Cody Whitehair, still here, can play all 3. Now you're bringing in Dan Feeney, can play all 3. And they've removed a lot of the offensive linemen who were more specific guys who could only play one position. Heck, even Tevin Jenkins, right? Keeping Tevin Jenkins around, even with the injury concerns, he can play all 3. So this is what the Bears want. This is the kind of guy that the Bears want. Hopefully Dan Feeney's able to kind of have a bounce back year here in Chicago. Hopefully we don't see him a ton of time because that means that we have a ton of injuries piling up. But if we do see him get in, I would love to see what he's going to be able to go out there and do. I would love to see where he plugs in best. I think he's also another guy where, listen, we only saw 3 plays of Lucas Patrick at center last year. It looked good for 3 plays, and then he got hurt. So you don't even know what you have with Lucas Patrick at that center position yet. If he's ready to go, at a minimum, Dan Feeney can play that center position. Hopefully, you know, like we see kind of what we saw last year with the Jets when he played a little bit, what we saw in preseason and training camp with Miami this season, right? Where, you know, when he did play center, he looked confident, knew where to go, knew where to block, knew how to scheme fit, all of that stuff. So hopefully we continue to see that, man. I do want to know how you guys feel in the comments below. Let me know how you feel about the Chicago Bears signing Dan Feeney. What do you think that he's going to bring to this Chicago Bears offense? I will say this. The one thing that I know that he will bring, no matter what, he's going to bring energy. I don't know if you've seen this guy's social media videos going around, how he is on the field, he's going to bring energy. And I'm not mad at that. I think you need somebody who's going to bring some fire on this team. I like that he's a guy that goes out there and gets after it, man. I think he's going to bring some fire, bring some energy, bring some tenacity. Like I said, I hope we don't see him a ton. But if we do have to see him, I hope that he continues to progress the way that he did the last couple of years with the Jets. Let me know how you guys feel in the comments below. I'll be down to talk with you as well. As always, it's your boy, Pat the Designer, back at it again. We will be live today at 5 today for the Daily Show. Make sure to tune in with us on that. We'll go a little bit more in depth on Dan Feeney. We'll also be talking about all the cut downs that happened on the 53. Y'all stay safe out there, Chicago. One love. Peace.